that because I wasn't even the right version. What is going on with everybody this afternoon/evening? Hope everybody's doing well. Got one more minute till we get started, man. How's everybody doing? If you want to unmute, anybody want to talk? How y'all feel about the election, man?
On pins and needles.
On pins and needles, boy. Man, I know that's right, man.
I had to turn it off, bro.
Man, hey, I know a lot of y'all going crazy watching TV.
Yeah, I turned it off for hours on time.
Staying prayed up.
Staying prayed up. I feel it. Well, I feel victorious. All of my propositions I voted for passed, except for 2. So, feeling like a winner today.
I just don't understand how it could be so close. I don't get it. Maybe someone can enlighten me.
The hills have eyes. Them folks coming out of the hills voting.
Oh, you know that.
Huh.
You know that.
Yeah, and a lot of us too.
California shot down affirmative action.
I know, right?
But that was one of the losses I took.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, that's jacked up. Where are the voters out there? Where are the voters?
Yeah, man, it's a that's one thing about California, man. People feel like it's one of the liberal states, yada yada, but when it come down to the nitty gritty,
yeah, because you have Orange County in there.
Most definitely, yeah.
They just had some people in Orange County that threw away 100 ballots in the trash can. They caught them though.
Oh, that's crazy.
It was probably 100 affirmative action for affirmative action. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hope it wasn't no Trump ballots because he wasn't gonna win this state anyway.
Well, no,
it made no difference no matter what.
Not even.
Oh man. All right, man. So we in here. Let's go ahead and get started. So for everybody that's new, thank you for coming to the meetup. I appreciate you tapping in. I know a lot of you guys probably got here through Sam, Black Real Estate Dialogue podcast. He released that episode earlier this week on Tuesday with he and I going back and forth and chopping it up and hanging out. You turn my camera on. Chopping it up and hanging out. And I had a great time with Sam. He's a solid brother. It's good to see him booming too, man. I remember when he was kind of first getting rolling and now his IG page is like at 25K. So it's really good to see. Might be more than that now. So yeah, so all you guys who are here, thanks to Sam, man, I really appreciate you pulling up and hopefully we can provide some value. Buy Back the Block LA is a organization that we started after Nipsey passed for everybody who hasn't been here. And we did it because we felt like it was our responsibility to carry on our brother's legacy. He was about ownership, about information, about knowledge, and about community. So we try to bring all those things together here at Buy Back the Block LA. Make sure, before we get started, let's take care of some housekeeping. So you can follow us at Buy Back the Block LA on IG. I want everybody who's in here who's not following us right now to do that, because in that way you'll get all the alerts going forward on every meetup that we have. Also, I know a lot of people are like trying to get started in the real estate, and what I want to do is hop over really quick to our website. So here at our website, we're going to do a complete overhaul of this site too. But the important thing is that we have a real estate investor starter guide here. And if you come to the website, you'll scroll down and just go to where it says getting started. So it says register for our monthly meetup. You can always register for the next meetup right there. And then go to where it says download our free starter guide. Now this starter guide right here, realistically, we could have charged money for it. It has word problems in it. It has definitions in it. It has an answer key to the word problems. I mean, everything you need to know to really get started and rolling is here. And then, as a lot of you guys know, I try to be accessible. So I had some folks that hit me who heard the Bread interview with Sam, and they had some questions on Twitter. So they hit me in the DM. We've been chopping it up. So if you read this real estate investor starter guide and you're still, confused on what to do or where to get started, then, shoot me a DM, man. I'd love to be able to help you out. And you can find this at our website again, buybacktheblockla.com. Make sure you follow us on Twitter too, at buyingbackla on Twitter. And that way you stay down and stay in the loop with us. So normally we like to start the meeting off with a little bit of current event news in the real estate world. So, generally speaking, real estate market is on fire right now as far as home sales are concerned. Home sales are up. Builders cannot build houses fast enough, it seems like. And, across the board, stuff is on the market for shorter and shorter periods. And, we're reaching that point where, I think it's healthy to have a little bit of skepticism as to how far this thing can really run. Lately, I've been learning about stock options, and I'm just a novice. I don't know much yet, but the fundamentals are, when you're doing technical analysis, which is looking at a chart, is like support and resistance, right? So, like, let me pull up something real quick to kind of help illustrate what I mean. So, one of the theories I've been practicing has been supply and demand zones, which basically are support and resistance. Now, support and resistance, let me pick another, like zone. There we go. Okay. So support and resistance, support is the floor. So think about support as your foundation, right? Like it's what you're standing on top of. It's under your feet. And resistance is the place where, as you can see, this price has gone up until this resistance zone here, and it has not broken through the zone. So every time it touches it, it comes back down. Touches it, it'll come back down. So I'm wondering, where we are in terms of the housing market, because I know we're not at support, because support was like 08, right? Or 2013. I think that we're probably up here. And, sometimes what happens is you have a resistance zone and the stock will start to create higher highs, and it'll blow through this zone, and it'll obliterate it, and it will no longer be a relevant zone.
Hey, Danny, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Are you sharing your screen? Because I can't see it.
Oh, you guys can't see it.
I was getting ready to say the same thing, Larry, like I was in Twilight Zone.
My bad, y'all. Okay, so let me start over again. So can you guys see me now? I'm sure you can, right? Thinking yes, y'all can see.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, cool. So support, like I was saying, is down here. It's the floor. So if you notice, the price keeps going down and it bounces off the floor and it comes up. It doesn't break actually through this floor, right? And then this is your resistance, which is up here. It's your ceiling, basically. And when you get up here, you bounce off the ceiling. So you travel somewhere between floor and ceiling. And I'm wondering with the stock market, with the housing market, what's going on. Now, sometimes, like I was saying, you have a stock that continues to go up and up and up and up, right? Like this stock here, NEO. My boy Phil was talking about NEO earlier today in our chat. And NEO, as you can see, is up and up and up. So if you tried to draw like any kind of ceiling there, it would have blown through it and disqualified it. I think this is kind of what the housing market is doing right now. It's going up and up and up, and we really don't know what the ceiling is, but we know it's got to be somewhere up there, right? So I'm saying all that to just illustrate the point of, I'm wondering where we are in the cycle, and I like for you guys to chime in. For those of you guys who have an opinion on where we are, please feel free to unmute yourself and chime in and let me know where you think we are right now. What do you think is going to happen in 2021 with the housing market?
I have an opinion.
Okay.
Just based on my opinion is not really based on numbers, not really the full research, but based on the fact that we have the eviction moratorium and the foreclosure moratorium with the forbearance options that lenders are required to give up to a year. In 2021, if the United States government, in my humble opinion, does not write a huge check to the real estate industry, we're headed for a fall. and we're headed for a fall, not because of the last break. It'd be last fall or bubble, so-called bubble, was because of the artificial financing. It's just because all this stuff people haven't been paying for. All these places people are living in will be, as soon as you get to the end of the year, 9 months, haven't been paying for their place for 9 months. And then they're going to have a year to get back, to repay those rents and the mortgage forbearance. It's not going to work. No one's going to, be able to pay almost double what they're asked to pay now with their current, rental obligation and mortgage obligation. It's not going to work. So unless the United States government write a huge check or come up with some policy that prohibits all these foreclosures and forbearance coming to pass, then we're headed for a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I think the latest stimulus package that the Democrats were trying to throw out had an extended forbearance for foreclosures. The articles that I have been reading have been saying that they don't predict a crash, even if people do have to sell, because there's so much equity in the houses now versus in 2008, when everything crashed. A lot of people were upside down because, and if you guys don't know what upside down means, that means that you owe more on your house than it's worth. So the flip flop is what we're dealing with now, right? And now people's houses are worth a lot more than they owe on them because housing is very expensive. So they feel like, or some of the experts or analysts, if that's what you want to call them, feel like even if people have to sell, we're not going to have a crash because people have $150,000, $200,000 in equity in the house, and they'll just sell them before they end up going into foreclosure. So, it's going to be interesting, man. Anybody else got any other takes on what they think is happening with the housing market or what's going to happen out here?
Yeah, I do. I had been doing a little research on it. I stumbled across some information about the rental market, in the country, and it was saying something to the effect that even though with forbearance and everything like that, that's still going on. Forbearance aside, there's still like people still paying their rent on time, like at almost at normal levels, like something around like 93%.
Yeah,
I don't know I don't remember the exact number, but the low 90s for sure. People are still paying their rent. So with that being said, if people are still paying their rent in the middle of the pandemic and with everything that's going on, whether forbearance is extended or not, if that trend continues, then it's less likely that there's going to be a crash, a housing market crash.
yeah. I mean, I think that the thing that's tricky this time is that, I don't know why, for whatever reason, it seemed like in '08 or whenever that last crash happened, people weren't I didn't hear the words housing crisis. But now, you can't turn TV on without hearing about housing crisis. So I don't know if we've got that many more people in the country now that don't have housing that's affordable or what, but it's going to be interesting to see because this time we have a bunch of people who need affordable housing. We have builders who can't build it fast enough because there's not enough talent and labor that's out there. Sidebar, my newest electrician is a Black woman, which I'm super duper excited about. And she's in her 50s. She's been an electrician for a long time. And I just came back from Houston. I went to a retreat down there. And man, some of those guys are raking in money with the trades, man. I mean, if you got any young brothers and sisters in your family and they kind of lost and they can't find where they want to go, college might not be for them, man, please have them look into getting the trade. Going into HVAC, which is heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, becoming an electrician or becoming a plumber, because these people are making buku cash out here. But there's not enough people in the trades right now, so they're not able to build the houses as fast. Plus, there's this problem that they're having with the cost of lumber. I think lumber's up 100% year over year right now. So what used to cost you $1,000 last year cost you $2,000 this year. So I don't know what happens. If we get into a situation like Larry's talking about where people can't pay, So now they fall behind because jobs are not coming back. They're going to get foreclosed on unless they sell. So let's just say a lot of people start selling it. If you have a bunch of sellers rushing to the market, we know what happens, right? Let's just look at like shoes, like with J's, right? If a pair of J's come out that are very rare, like some off-whites or something, there's only a certain amount of those in circulation, so they cost a lot. But if all of a sudden Off-White decides to release 2 million more pairs into the market, it's going to depress the market for the shoes. They're not going to be worth as much. So people are predicting that there's not going to be a crash, but what happens if all of these sellers they don't get foreclosed on, but they come rushing to the table to sell? So all of a sudden you have this spike in inventory. And if there's a bunch of inventory, obviously you're not going to be able to command the same prices that you can now, right? So that's just one way that I'm thinking about it. Anybody else got any other takes before we move on from this?
I would like
I do.
Oh, okay.
Sure, go ahead.
I'm a realtor, and just kind of watching with the clients that I have and the trend, even at the onset of COVID, prices didn't go down that much. They went down a little bit because many sellers were holding just to see what's going to happen, but they drove right back up once everybody just kind of just bunkered down and watched what they were doing and just kind of eased out slowly. But it's a seller's market right now, which means they can waive appraisal fees, and they're putting down the asking price plus $50,000 more, and it's ridiculous. The price of housing out here is it's astronomical. It really is. But talking to my community and friends and my sphere, many people are looking to move out of California. So we just might have that boom where everybody's like, okay, well, I'm going to sell, get the equity I have and go somewhere else. California, I love California, been here all my life. And if my family wasn't here and my husband's job wasn't in the industry, I wouldn't be here either. But you're about to see a mass exodus because many people are just kind of sick of it here. So, it could go either way. I don't think the market's going to crash. That's my opinion. I don't think any of us have a crystal ball. Some people are ready for it and some people are like, no, I don't want it to happen, but we'll see. Let's just wait and see. Hold your money, keep your savings right. And if an opportunity arises where we can get in, then let's do that,
Yeah, I think that's a great point. There was somebody else who wanted to speak on it as well, I think.
I would like to say something from a buyer's perspective.
Sure.
So it is really nice to hear, Daniela, that you just spoke as a realtor, and how your empathy towards us buyers. You do have the agents out there who aren't empathetic to us, and the higher the selling prices is greater for them. I mean, I've had 4 properties I did lose in foreclosure back in 2011, with a terrible loan, and I'm ready to jump back in, and I just can't. I have a family and I just can't. And I've been looking all over, and I've been looking for over a year, and I have seen the prices increase. I didn't really see much of a stable or a slight drop. It's just been inclining. I can't even get into Compton. And yeah, I feel the same way. If I didn't have commitments here, I would be gone totally. But everyone loves LA, California, so there might be an exodus, but majority of the people still will be here because there's so much to so many qualities here.
Yeah,
I don't see a bust. I don't see anything declining. I just see it increasing and maybe stabilizing, maybe mid next year.
Right. Okay. Anybody else want to speak up?
I wanted to say a little.
Go ahead. Anybody else? Nobody else?
Hi
No,
everyone. Oh, I'm so sorry.
no, go ahead, Clarissa.
I just it's really interesting, nice to hear everyone speak. As a tax perspective, and I live in New York City, I also think about commercial real estate, and I'm a senior tax analyst, and also I get to be on phone calls with lobbyists and just hearing also just all the deficits in all the states and hearing where they're just trying to look for money in the upcoming years, and property taxes, just property taxes, or maybe legalizing marijuana everywhere, or I just think of all the different ways that the housing market, we all, like someone else just mentioned, don't have a crystal ball, but I know for commercial real estate, it's crazy in Manhattan. And, but the technical businesses are moving in, and retail is kind of being pushed out, it seems like, in Manhattan. And for my view is, I do think, all right now it's a seller's market, but just from what I see, what I read, I do feel like there might be more of a supply than a demand in the next maybe 2 years, 2 to 3 years, where like he was just saying, there'll be so much in the market, but not enough buyers eventually, maybe in a 2 to 3. That's just my opinion. So yeah, those are my thoughts.
Okay, and is that more so about commercial real estate than residential?
I think both. Yeah,
Okay.
no, I think more so both.
So what do you think will drive the spike in supply for residential property? If we're in a housing crisis, as they're telling us we're in a housing crisis, we don't have affordable housing. So what do you think will drive the amount of properties available to buy?
I think we're underestimating, I don't know, let's say looking at property stream or management and just seeing how many houses are already in certain areas. I guess it also just depends what states you're in and what cities, but how many houses are ready for auctions. And I don't know, I haven't looked at data to analyze on a scale of comparing from year to year, but I just do. I do. And I guess also, I don't know, maybe it's in New York, just seeing how many people are in need and how many people can't pay the mortgages. Although someone did mention a 90% rate, that's amazing. But I also see those who are struggling. So.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Hey, Danny, can I add to that real quick?
Please.
So obviously, my background is in the commercial multifamily space, but the trends that we identify in multifamily kind of now are spilling over into single family, in that you have a lot of institutional capital lining up. You see that Zillow, Redfin, all of these companies are now offering home buying services where they're trying to buy and then be their own brokers and sell, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of it is also, there's a lot of money gathering on the sidelines to step into the single family rental market.
Okay, so you've seen a lot of institutional capital.
While an individual maybe can't take the risk on of, let's say, buying an $800,000 house and it sits vacant. Institutional money is buying it at scale, so they're buying doors. So if any one property sits vacant, they can absorb that, because what they're looking for, like a life insurance company or something like that, they have pension fund, all they need is a 3% return. So they're going to view single family rentals the same way they view multifamily rentals, right? You pro forma in a certain amount of vacancy. You go into a market that's hot, where people want to live, which is LA. And over time, just owning the doors is going to generate the return you're looking for. So we see a lot of folks, I say folks, but a lot of companies lining up, waiting with open arms for there to be some sort of foreclosure rush. That doesn't mean it's going to come, but that's what they're waiting for.
Right. So does that mean that even if, like we said, because people have equity, they don't necessarily get foreclosed on, but they have to sell quickly to get their equity without getting foreclosed on? They're waiting for that scenario as well, right?
Yeah, I don't think they necessarily care. They're just looking for the blood in the street scenario, right? And so hoping that maybe the foreclosure moratorium, right, has got a bunch of people who would foreclose and will foreclose as soon as there's, as soon as maybe you get to spring 2021, if there's no real relief for them. I think that a Biden win, he's very big on affordable housing. He's mentioned increasing the pool of available recipients by a couple million. And so I don't see a scenario where they let all these people get foreclosed on.
Okay. Yeah, man. No, I appreciate that, man. By the way, that's my man, Matthew Gates, man, in the building, LA. Make sure y'all get with him, follow him. Very intelligent brother, as you can see. And he's plugged into a level that we're not plugged into. He sees the institutional capital, and that's the big money. That's the smart money. Before we get on to why you guys came, though, I know you want to hear about the Section 8 stuff. Because, a couple of you guys mentioned like, hey, I would leave California if I didn't have this or that, going on. It kind of made me think about something that I talked to, I talked about on my podcast. For those of you guys that don't know, I work in the music business full time. I've been in the music business since I was 19 years old. It's pretty much all I knew until I started to invest in the real estate. And I have a podcast called The Mad Manager Show, where my partner and I kind of break down the music business, talk about everything that's wrong with it, how it can be fixed. We help executives get better, yada, yada. And helping people get better starts with helping people. It's not about developing your skills as a musician. It's about developing you as a person. So what we talked about was something called the sunk cost fallacy on our last episode. And the sunk cost fallacy, without reading this whole thing to you, basically states that we make mistakes all the time analyzing what we should do based off of what we have invested so far. So, for example, in the article, the guy said he had a friend whose girlfriend always cheated on him. And when he would ask him, like, well, how come you wouldn't break up with her? He's like, man, I've been in this relationship so long, got so much invested, I can't just walk away. Right. And that's one of those things, or like an investor who purchased the stock and now it's tanking. And then he asked the investor, how come you don't just sell the stock and get out? Well, I mean, I got so much invested. I spent $100 a share and he's making his decision based off of costs that are already sunk. But the author basically said that we need to make decisions based off of where we stand right now and where we want to be, not based off of what we have invested so far. So what you have invested so far, yeah, it will be factored into your decision making. If you decide to leave California, yeah, you're going to think about family and stability and stuff that you've established here. But I don't believe that should be something that stops you from leaving if you feel like that's what you need to do to be able to achieve the quality of life that you need to for you and your family. Me personally, I love my city and state to death. But over time, honestly, I've started to fall out of love with it because of some of the practices of government and politics and the taxes and the prices. It's just at some point it stops making sense. And you have to stop trying to make sense out of things that don't make sense anymore. So just wanted to throw that at you guys real quick because the sunk cost fallacy, if you look it up online, you'll see it's a very real thing. We do it all the time, especially in relationships. You hear people all the time, well, man, I've been with such and such so long, I can't just leave. Sure you can. Sure you can. If it's not making you happy, you absolutely can leave and you should leave. Just think about it. So anyways, let me move on to kind of what's going on. Just one little tidbit of news on the bubble watch. I'm just going to read you this from this economic report that I get every week from the LA Real Estate Investors Club. So the bubble watch says California house prices hit their fourth consecutive record high, a 17.6% year-over-year gain, according to the eternally optimistic California Association of Realtors. The median sales price for an existing single-family house in California reached $712,000 in September versus $605,000 a year earlier. I mean, guys, that's crazy. Over $100,000, creating the largest percentage point jump since 2014. A buying frenzy is fueling the price gains, with houses selling at $489,590 a year pace, up 21% in a year, to the fastest pace since February 2009. Hold on, I gotta let somebody in real quick. Sorry about that. Housing's rebound from springtime coronavirus-related dip has been powered by historically low mortgage rates and the pandemic's push by homeowners to own larger living spaces. Further, CAR's unsold inventory index hit its lowest supply since 2004 in November. The number of listings priced under 1 million is down 56% in a year. The typical time from listing to escrow is a record low 11 days in September. That's crazy. 11 days from the time you list to the time that you go pending and you accept an offer. It says the sales price to list price ratio was 100% in September. So in theory, no discounting from the first listing price versus 98.5% a year earlier. Both those numbers are ridiculous, but I mean, to think that people are not taking the price down a penny to sell stuff right now, it just shows how hot the market is. The article goes on to say, in other words, in this overheated seller's market, sellers are selling their homes for the listing price or greater. Homes that sold averaged $321 per square foot, up 11% in a year. That suggests more expensive homes are selling, creating a large increase in the median price. According to CAR's chief economist, Leslie Appleton Young, with the shortest time on market in recent memory, an alarmingly low supply of homes for sale, and the fastest price growth within 6.5 years, the market's short-term gain can also be its weakness in the longer term, as the imbalance of supply and demand could lead to more housing shortages and deeper affordability issues. CAR is forecasting 1% price growth and 3% sales increase in 2021. So that's just something for you to run with, just so you have a little context, whether you work in the business professionally yet or not. It's always good to just know a little bit about what's going on around you. So now you know the median price in California is $712,000, and houses are selling in 11 days, which is crazy. So let's move on to Section 8. Reason why you guys are all here. Now, Section 8 is a passion of mine, which a lot of you guys know. All of my rentals that I own currently are out of state. I used to own a property here in California. I bought it in 2013. That property appreciated $100,000. I sold it in 2017, took the money and rolled it into some apartment buildings in Indianapolis, which is where I invest now. The apartment building that I bought, I got for $145,000 from a guy who was going through a divorce, the first one. And I found it on Craigslist. He was just like, hey man, like my wife's killing me. I really don't want to sell this building. I love it, but I gotta let it go. So we came to an agreement. I bought the property from him, and that was that. Just by chance, 3 out of the 4 tenants that he had in the building were Section 8 tenants. And excuse me, I was introduced to Section 8 while I was here in California by my property manager here. As far as being a landlord, I knew what Section 8 was as far as, getting the voucher and stuff, but not from a business standpoint. So she turned me on to the program. My best tenants that I ever had out here in Cali were on Section 8. The family was disabled. The mother and father were both disabled, and the children were like straight A students. Great family, man. It broke my heart to have to let her know that I was selling the property, but luckily my property manager helped her find an even bigger house than the one she was getting from me. I got the money to roll into something else, so it all ended in smiles. So Section 8 for me is something that I feel very passionate about because a lot of our people are involved in the program. First off, talking about the Black community, and I don't like what I've seen out there, especially in Indianapolis, when it comes to how Section 8 voucher holders are treated. Indianapolis, as you know, is Trump country, Pence country, and everything that comes along with that is reflected in the dealings between property owners and tenants. There's a lot of stereotypes that are going on, and realistically, a lot of the Section 8 housing that gets put up, they just throw up whatever because they feel like people need to take whatever they can get because they don't have money. So who are they to choose, or who are they to have opinions? On the other hand, obviously coming from our community, we all are, you know, at some point in our lives have been at the poverty level, under the poverty level, or one paycheck or two away from being there probably. Or we have somebody in our family, or we have friends that are in that situation. So we know that there's a lot of good people who are on the program who just need help. So for me, it was very important to put quality materials into the rentals that we do, that we have, and that we rehab, and to continue to be involved in the process, because for me, it's a win-win-win. You know, the government wins first off because they're looking to create this environment where, at least they should be, where people are able to find affordable housing, right? The tenant wins because if you're being responsible as a landlord, you're rehabbing your properties properly, they get a really clean, safe, functional place to live, right? And then you win because you get rent every month. The very first tenants that I had out here in Cali destroyed my house in Palmdale. I'm talking about, my neighbor sent me videos of a fire they set in the backyard. They poured bleach on my carpets, just enough to where I had to replace the entire carpet. They kicked holes in my doors and in my walls. And these were my non-Section 8 tenants. The tenants who I put in, man, they were incredible. You know, took care of the property, were respectful, the whole nine. So, you know, saying all that to say, you know, it becomes a win-win-win for everybody. And I got the checks that came to my mail directly. The tenants who destroyed the property, I had to throw them out. Not only that, I had to sue the property manager that I had first hired that brought them in because he didn't screen them properly. So my first situation, my first lap around, ended in a lawsuit and an eviction for my tenants. Turned into a cash for keys thing because they didn't want to go through the eviction process, but basically an eviction. So once I switched over to Section 8, I never had the problem again of having to worry about when the money was coming. I get direct deposits directly to my bank account. Well, I did back then. Now I have a property manager. So the money goes to the property manager first. The property manager will pay all the expenses that are related with the property. You know, he'll take his fee, which is 10% of the gross rent. So that means that if the house is renting out for $1,000, he gets $100. There's $900 left. If there's any maintenance for that month, he'll pay it out. So let's say that there was a broken toilet and the vanity that got broken. That's probably going to be like, let's just say $300. The $300 goes to them from the $900 that's left after his fee. That leaves $600 that comes to me, and that's my money. So, you know, I'll pay my mortgage out of that and keep whatever's left over. So right now, there's an incredible need for affordable housing, especially on the Section 8 level, right? So let's take a look at this article really quick. Okay, thousands of California renters with Section 8 vouchers can't use them. What lawmakers are doing about it. And we're going to read through this really quick. It says, as California struggles with a crisis in affordable housing, state lawmakers are trying to improve a severe shortage of housing available to renters who have federal Section 8 vouchers. The vouchers allow tenants to pay only 30% of their income toward rent, with federal assistance to pay the rest. But most landlords do not accept tenants who pay with vouchers, saying they are too burdensome. Now look, right there, where people see a challenge, you should see opportunity. Not a lot of people accept it, which means that there's high demand. Meanwhile, applicants can wait years to qualify for Section 8 vouchers. Again, high demand. Don't you want to rent to people where there's a backlog of people waiting years to be able to use the voucher? That means that you're never going to run out of a tenant pool. And it says, and when they do, they often can't find housing before the vouchers expire, usually within 60 days. Last year in Fresno, roughly 17% of the 21,000 people who applied for a voucher got one, but less than half who did found a place before the clock ran out. It's billed as a golden ticket, says Alexander Harnden, a policy advocate for the Western Center on Law and Poverty. At this point, I describe it as a ticket to last summer's movie. You can find where it's playing. That's great. If you can find where it's playing, that's great. Otherwise, it's just a piece of paper. Okay, so before I read through all of this, I'm going to save you some time. Basically, what's going on, there's too many people who have vouchers and not enough housing. Period. Now, if you take a look over here in Memphis, we expanded our wholesaling business from Indianapolis to Memphis. And if you don't know what wholesaling is, it's just a form of tying up properties for a certain amount and then selling them to other cash investors and making the spread. So, for example, I might see a house tied up for $10,000. I know that Fred down the road is an investor. He's looking for a property. I know Fred will pay $15,000. I'll take the property to Fred, sell it to him for $15,000 and make the $5,000. So our business that does that, we just moved from Indianapolis. We expanded to Memphis, right? Now look at what's going on in Memphis, which is my brand new market. Get an incentive up to $700 for each new unit leased to an HCV family. HCV stands for Housing Choice Voucher Program, aka Section 8. Now, where else in the country are you going to find somebody to pay you a bonus to take people in and then get guaranteed rent on top of it? I mean, this is crazy, but this is what's going on right now, and this is how you can profit. Now, throughout the entire COVID-19 pandemic, I have missed $0 and 0 cents in rent because of Section 8. Because of Section 8. Money comes rolling in on the first. I keep the properties clean and everything rolls well for the tenant. Everything rolls well for me. So before I go into the next tier of this thing, do we have any questions? Feel free to unmute yourself if so.
I have a question.
Shoot.
Okay, so I've heard from investors that they do not want to rent to Section 8 recipients because they don't value the property or take care of the property because they're not paying, the full rent. And they've been burnt so many times. And I think that's why there's these bonuses and things because, Section 8 recipients have been known to damage property severely and, it's hard to get them out. What do you say about that? Are there new guidelines now where they're monitoring the recipients and now that they have to meet a certain standard?
They're always monitoring the recipient. It's just that you have to know how to work the system to your advantage. So Section 8 comes with a built-in accountability system. If you refer back to the article, it takes years to get a voucher for some people. In other cases, there's a literal lottery. You have to literally win the lottery to get a voucher. People who get the vouchers hold on to them for the most part. They don't want to lose them. If they damage a property, they stand to be kicked out of the program, which means it's a wrap after that. Nobody wants to be in that situation. So that's something that you have going in your favor automatically. You have to be in constant contact, or your property manager should be in constant contact with your public housing authority. That's a PHA. PHA is the authority, is the governing body basically that distributes the funds that come from the federal government. So HUD, Department of Housing and Urban Development, they're the ones who fund Section 8. Got a big bag of money and they drop it on each state. Then you have public housing authorities by county and by city, and they take the money and break it up and send it to the landlords, yada, yada. So you need to be in contact with your public housing authority to let them know if you're starting to see signs. Secondly, you should be making decisions on the tenants that you're putting in your units the same way you make decisions if they weren't on Section 8. So if you're having a showing at your unit, right, you should be keeping tabs on everything that's going on. If the kids show up and they running around, wiping hands on the wall, they don't look clean, they don't look like they're taken care of, they doing crazy stuff, saying crazy stuff. You look at the potential tenant's car, but they don't take care of their car, they look like they don't care at all. That's not the tenant that you want. You wouldn't have rented to that tenant anyway, even if they weren't on Section 8. So why would you rent to them just because they're on Section 8, right? Mm-hmm. So you have a lot of landlords who get desperate because they just see the money. So they're like, oh, I'm gonna get a guaranteed check. I don't care. Well, that's your bad. That's bad management, bad property management, you know? So, and then going back to my first experience, remember I told you they kick holes in the walls, kick holes in the doors, pour bleach on the carpet, and set the backyard on fire. So I have yet to have a Section 8 tenant to do all those things to my property.
One more
Hey,
thing.
Danny.
Go ahead.
Really quick. You left Cali to go to, you said Memphis?
Indianapolis first, and now Memphis. Yes.
Okay. I've actually heard of another person doing that, and they actually got their license in California and Memphis, I guess because of some of these incentives. But so why aren't you doing it in California? I know a lot of vouchers, a lot of like the Jordan Downs and the projects and Watts, those have been that all those people have been given vouchers, and they're sending them, and they've sent them to like Lancaster and Palmdale.
Yeah.
So, why didn't you stay in California?
The cost of the barrier to entry was too high in California. So when I sold the property in Palmdale, I had about $90,000. It had appreciated like $100,000, but after I had paid for the cost to sell the property, I was left with like 90 something thousand. And I knew that I couldn't be trusted with that money, so I had to put it somewhere, right? And I wanted to get more cash flow because I was also in a situation where I had recently left my position in the music business, so I didn't have a W-2 job anymore. So instead of making $200 a month cash flow in California, I was able to take that money and roll it over into a couple of apartment buildings where I can make maybe $800 or $900 cash flow, let's just say on each one. So now all of a sudden I'm in a totally different situation. So would I like to own properties here in California? Yeah, but is California a landlord-friendly state? No, not at all. It's very difficult in California to make things happen, and that's part of the reason why, with more and more laws that they're starting to put in effect, they're making it less and less attractive. I mean, why would you want?
Because of gentrification?
That's part of it. Yeah, sure.
But see, I don't understand that part either, because it's gentrification. I get it that now they're increasing the property values, but stuff is looking great. Like they're rehabilitating, they're like beautifying the areas. Now, of course, the value is going to go up. So, I mean, so what are we saying? We're moving people out of Watts and Compton, giving them the vouchers to go to Lancaster and Palmdale, and then gentrifying in LA, Inglewood, and then raising the prices, and then rebuilding here. And then what are we trying to do? You think it's a racial thing, like that redlining? That's been a big topic.
Well, of course, gentrification is absolutely it's absolutely race-based, and it's economic warfare by a dominant society against the Black society. Because what they're doing is, at the very beginning of gentrification, they went to a lot of mom and pop landlords and a lot of mom and pop homeowners who weren't financially savvy enough to know what they were sitting on. And they sold out because they were looking to cash out and take off without knowing that there were ways to be able to get the money out the property because they had equity, still own it, and be able to benefit from the cash flow going forward. Well, why do these people not have the financial literacy that they need? Clearly because they grew up in a system in America that was designed to keep that information away from them. So that system is now washing its own hands. It started off by miseducating these folks, and now it's taking advantage of their ignorance to be able to push them out at dirt cheap prices. So it's absolutely race-based.
Hey, Danny, this is Jerome Wiley. I want to make sure I heard you correctly. Are you actually wholesaling now in Memphis?
Yes, sir. We are, as of 3 weeks ago. So we got one deal closed, and we got another one pending right now.
Okay. And also, I just want to make sure I understand you correctly. Basically, what you're saying with Section 8 is there's a great supply. If you screen it correctly, you have guaranteed income in an environment where we might have a lot of people who are unemployed.
Yeah, I mean, even pre-COVID, there was a shortage.
Right.
There was a shortage pre-COVID. So now, the way that we're moving in Memphis is a little different because Memphis is, Indianapolis is a turnkey market to a degree as well, but Memphis, that's what they're known for, is turnkey properties. So for anybody who doesn't know what turnkey properties are, basically you're buying a rental property that has a tenant in it already that's cash flowing, and you're just buying it and you're making the money from day one. So for us being able to wholesale properties, I realized in the first 3 weeks, we might have to pivot and start a turnkey business where I have to raise some private money. I have to go into Memphis. I have to buy the property. I have to rehab it. I have to put a Section 8 tenant in it, and then I can sell it. But that takes a little longer, but you can make a ton more by doing it that way. So that's probably what we're going to end up doing, is selling turnkey rental properties to out-of-state investors where they still get great cash flow and we still make a good amount too.
Just one more quick question on Memphis. Are you in the Fraser area? Are you outside the loop or inside the loop?
I'm like core downtown, Memphis, metropolitan area. So I'm still getting to know the city. I don't know any, I don't know it nearly as well as I know Indianapolis, but my boots on the ground there. Diamond, she's from Memphis, born and raised, so she's educating me every day. So I'm starting to get to know. So I'm not exactly sure where I'm not yet. I just know, look at downtown and look at the radius around downtown, and I'm there,
Well, I want to talk to you more about what you're doing later on.
Okay, no problem.
What are properties going for in Memphis as far as 4 or 5 unit apartment complexes? What are we looking? What are we talking price wise?
That's a good question. We haven't run across any 5-unit buildings yet. I can tell you that we tied up the first house we got that we did a deal on. We tied up for $7,500, and we sold it to an investor for $11,000. And the house that we have in escrow right now, we tied it up for $17,500. So, there's still a good amount of supply. It's not oversaturated. Indianapolis, to a degree, is starting to get a little pricey. Still cheap. I mean, you can make money, but compared to what it was, a couple of years ago, it's getting a little bit more expensive. Whereas Memphis, you can still get in there and get stuff dirt cheap.
Is that a single family home you're referring to, or 4-unit?
Yes, that's a single family home.
Okay.
Yep.
I wanted to mention that it's kind of a double-edged sword. I did.
Oh, we lost you. I think we lost you.
Are you based in Memphis or are you living in LA?
Oh, you know what, Stephanie, we lost you. I lost you right when you started asking the question.
Well, first I said it was a double-edged sword. I did purchase income property, a 4-unit building in Metairie, New Orleans.
Okay.
And I was based in LA, and I went through 3 or 4 property managers, and it was really hard to trust someone. But I'm glad to hear that you have someone there that you can trust. So I was wondering, are you based there or are you based in LA?
I'm based in LA, so I do all of my investing virtually.
Okay. So yeah, I think I was wondering about single family homes in LA, Compton area. The prices, I think if we can have a conversation about that, about prices right now, Compton single family home is running from mid 400s to, as high as 600. And, it's just baffling to me about how much I don't think you would get cash flow if you were to buy, out here for that price.
No, you wouldn't. So that brings your strategy into question, right? Are you buying for appreciation or are you buying for cash flow? And most of us are buying to eventually leave our 9-to-5s or be able to sustain ourselves working independently. So we need cash flow. So it makes more sense for us to take off and see, we have to remove the boundaries, right? Once I left the state and saw what was possible, then for me, every state was possible after that because I broke the ice. But in California, I know a lot of times people want to make it work. No sense in trying to put a circle in a square hole. If it's not going to fit, it's not going to fit. So if you can go out of state and build the system with the trustworthy property manager who can help you and resources to help you find properties, then you're going to be good. You're going to make a ton of money and you're going to have money flowing into your bank account every month. Whereas here in California, like you said, you be upside down. You buy a property, rent it out, and have to pay money on it every month. And that's hustling backwards.
How did you find your guy in like some of these other states, like trustworthy property management, like in Memphis, for example? You found someone obviously that's you can trust and it's trustworthy. How did you find him or look him up?
That's a good question. So when you get ready to go out of state, the first thing that you have to do is build a system and a team, right? You don't have the luxury of just being able to hop in your car and go around the corner and collect the rent yourself. So you got to break that type of that way of thinking and get disciplined. So when it comes to looking for a property manager, one of the best places to look, and you might want to jot this down, is the local Real Estate Investors Association. They call them RIAs. So at the RIAs, you have active investors who are actually buying properties, renting them out, buying properties, flipping them, and they know because they're in the trade a lot of times who some of the best people are who can property manage. And then what's good to do is to get 3 people and to call, interview those people, get references, and see who you feel good about and who seems to have a track record and who's knowledgeable. And once you feel good about that person, go ahead and lead. Again, I think that we talked earlier about like, okay, tenants, they damage properties. That's the stereotype on Section 8, whatever. Whenever you're deciding on moving forward with somebody, you need to like pull in 3 different data points. You don't just sit down and have a cup of coffee with a guy and say, oh, I like this guy, I'm going with him. You need to have that vibe. That's 1 data point. 2, you need to call the references. 3, you need to look into the business, ask him questions to see if he's knowledgeable about the things that you need to do. If you're going Section 8, you need to ask him, hey man, you know anything about Section 8? And you know how long it takes? And now you probably know the answers, but you got to find out if he knows. And that's how you know. If he's like, oh yeah, we do Section 8 all the time, I talk to the inspectors all the time, we have a great relationship, that's a very good sign. Very, very good. Any other questions? Nobody else? Okay.
As far as Section 8, I've had 3 income properties back in 2003. I bought a 4-unit on Figueroa and 42nd for $340, and it was amazing. I mean, the cash flow was just like amazing. Of course, you can't find that now. So so I had a few Section 8 tenants and they were fine. I mean, some, the amount that they had to pay, that was the challenge. Getting that money, that $30, that $150 from them was a challenge. But it was definitely lucrative back then in LA. I wish we can go back to those good old times.
You know what? I'm glad you brought that up, because one thing I didn't talk about is the percentages that come with the vouchers. So the vouchers, what you want to shoot for and what you want to have your property manager shoot for, because remember, your property manager works for you. So you want to sit down with them and strategize with them on a game plan that's going to work. So what you would say is like, hey, let's shoot for 100% voucher holder. And what that means basically is that voucher holder doesn't have to pay any percentage of the rent. Now I know sometimes you guys are like, man, come on, they only got to pay 10%. What's $100 on 1,000? It's a lot, trust me. And you will be chasing it, thinking that they're gonna show up with that $100 all the time, because a lot of times they won't. And they know that you're not gonna really trip, because you like, man, look, I'm getting 900, easy. I ain't gotta work for it. I'm gonna let it go. So a lot of times they'll play that game with you. So what you got to do is try to get as many 100% voucher holders as you can. And that will eliminate that problem right off the break. Now, if you end up with somebody who's not 100% holder, and they have to pay 10 or 20%, and they're not coming through with it, you have to ask yourself how you feel about it at that time and how much it's killing you. If it's killing your cash flow, then you got to do something about it. And that means you got to approach Section 8. You got to talk to them. You got to let them know what's going on. You got to try to resolve it amicably with your tenant first. Try to work it out with them. Be reasonable. But if not, you might have to make the hard call of getting rid of them. That's part of the game. That's the business that we're in. It's not always a clean business. Sometimes you got to get out there and get your hands dirty and put in some work yourself and get somebody out of a property. It is what it is. But for the most part, again, if you're trying to screen properly in the beginning, you will cut down on the problems. What do old people say? A pound, what is it? Something of prevention prevents a pound of cure or something like that. Whatever that saying is, they're right about it. So yeah.
It's an ounce of prevention.
There you go. Boom. Ounce of prevention prevents a pound of cure.
Hey, Danny, how did you settle on Memphis? Like, what was that one of several markets that you looked at when you tried to expand out of Indianapolis, or did you already have some intel that pointed you there? Like, what kind of what was that process like?
Man, I was just addicted to the Midwest after Indianapolis because I love the steadiness of it. You know, when the market crashed, the Midwest didn't see a huge amount of depreciation. And when the market's booming, they're not going to see a huge amount of appreciation either. But they're going to stay steady throughout the whole thing. And they're known for cash flow. That's what St. Louis, Cleveland, Detroit, Kansas City, Indianapolis, Memphis, all those cities are known for cash flow. So it was very similar in price point to Indianapolis. So I felt like I could adapt to it quickly once I got there.
Right.
So that is true that depreciation is significantly slower, because I've read that somewhere that's accurate. Appreciation values and stuff like that is slower in like Midwestern states and back east some.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's gonna stay steady, man. More often than not, you know, again, like if you go back to 08 and you look at the data, you're gonna see that they didn't crash as hard as everybody else, and you know they didn't rise as. It's like the coastal cities are the ones that always have like the ridiculous volatility in prices. So, you know, you go from 100,000 this week, like she was saying with her 4-unit. I remember when 4 units around my neighborhood were going for 400,000. I thought it was a lot, and that was in 2013. Those same buildings are now selling for 800 and 1.2, and I feel like an idiot for not getting one. Got a question that says, getting Section 8 tenants out or evicted is time consuming. Yes, getting any tenant out is a headache and time consuming. So what you want to do again is in the beginning, you want that ounce of prevention, right? And that comes with not being desperate, not rushing to get a tenant, making sure that you're evaluating them properly to cut down on the amount of risk, right? You might not ever be able to eliminate it completely, but if you take the time to evaluate people properly, the odds are that you're going to probably be able to prevent certain problems.
I had an income property on Arlington off of Jefferson during that time, and I rented to a Caucasian woman, non-Section 8, who had a son going to USC. And oh my gosh, that was a nightmare. She took us to court, came to find out that she was suing her mom. You know, so yeah, sometimes the cover may look, you know, clean, but when you dig deep, so it is important to dig deep and to look at those credit report and see who's paying who, you know. So
yeah,
that is definitely a valuable resource.
You're going to evaluate them the same way. I don't, you know what's so crazy? I trust Section 8 tenants more than I trust non-Section 8 tenants. After they lit my backyard on fire, man, I was like, man, that's it. They did everything that you possibly could do. So I'm like, nah, man, whatever happens on Section 8, I'll survive because I've seen it all from non-Section 8 people. So yeah, I'm good. And this article, so I got something up on the screen right now you guys can probably see. And this is another one from Indianapolis. This is my primary market, right? So it says IHA seeks to restart Section 8 voucher program after COVID-19. Okay, it says a program that helps people afford low-income housing is slowly restarting after it was sidelined by the financial impact of COVID-19. Last summer, there were some 4,000 people on a waiting list. Once again, opportunity. Some people see headache. When I was in Houston, Tyron McDaniel is who was hosting the retreat. Brilliant dude. You can follow him on IG at Houston Vintage Homes. Man is a genius when it comes to building and rehabbing properties. He said, opportunity a lot of times comes disguised as work. And that was a bar for me because that's what this is. When you look at this, you see all people on, man, I don't know, man, Section 8, yada, yada. It's opportunity coming disguised as work. All you got to do is learn a little something and you'll get guaranteed rents forever. Okay. So it says many of those people have been waiting years. And for a while this spring, it looked like for some of these folks, there was a light at the end of the tunnel. But the coronavirus pandemic and federal funding cutbacks put those hopes on hold. I'm not going to read the rest of this. If you want the link, I'll send it. But long story short, we're going right back to the same point. People need housing. There's not enough. And they're just now being able to reissue vouchers that they had to pause out on. So let's talk about the process of how you go from, Nature said, can you repeat the Houston contact? Yes, Tyron McDaniels is his name. Look him up on, and I'm gonna go to the chat. I'm gonna put in his handle on IG. Hold on real quick. It's at Houston Vintage Homes. Learned a ton from that brother, man. It was the best $1,500 I spent in a while. So she said I had renters from USC too, and they were terrible. I'm trying to tell you, these people who got money be the worst. Oh my God. So let's talk about the process. Oh, somebody want to say something? Nobody? All right, I'm gonna continue on as we continue on. So let's say you got your unit. You're like, all right, man, I'm ready to go. Section 8 time. What do I do? First thing you want to do is make sure that you're up to the standards. Section 8 does not play about safety. They want the properties to be clean and safe for the tenants. You can't just hand them anything. Now, the way that you're going to go about this is, let me close all this out. What you're going to do is use the Section 8 inspection checklist. Y'all remember when we were in school and you would get a test and the teacher would be like, hey, here's a study guide. And the questions that I'm going to ask on the test are all on the study guide. This is the study guide. I never failed a test when I had a study guide ahead of time. This right here is going to save you when it's time to have the inspection. Because what you're going to do is you're going to get your property ready and then you're going to advertise it. When you advertise your property, preferably with professional photos, because a lot of the photos that are on the websites for Section 8 and on Zillow for properties that accept Section 8 are bad photos. They don't care. They take them upside down sometimes, sideways, dark. So if you have a respectable looking property, go ahead and spend $150, get a good photographer to come in, clean it up, take good photos. It'll help you because the property will go like that. Why? Because you already see there's demand there, right? When you get the packet from your tenant, they're going to bring it to you. You're going to fill it out. All the paperwork is very straightforward. It's like, what's your name? What's your address? What's your bank account information for payment? Yada, yada. You're going to then take that packet to your public housing agency, turn it in. You're not going to trust your tenant to do it because they might go home and roll something up or pour something and forget. You need to get paid. So take that and hand it in. Make sure that you get it in. When that happens, the process is going to start on when your inspection date is going to come up. When your inspection date comes, your inspector is going to come to the property to inspect it to make sure it's safe and clean. They're going to look for all these things on the checklist. They gave you the checklist, there are logos on it. Obviously, they're going to use it. So what you should do is walk through the property. What you're going to do is give this to your contractor or your handyman, whoever's working on the property. And you're going to say, look, bring this back to me with everything checked off. And if there's something that needs to get worked on, let me know and let's get it done and then check it off. Now the chances of you failing your inspection have gone as close to zero as possible. Now you might have an inspector who comes in, they're just having a bad day. I've had a couple of them. And you did everything and they were like, hey, I'm still not passing it. Instead of getting angry with the inspector, what you have to do is realize your position in the situation. The people who control your money, you should not play with. So you could have an irate moment and go chest to chest with the inspector, but they got the keys to the castle. So what you need to do is let them know you're not trying to challenge their authority and just say, hey, you know what, man, I'm so sorry. I thought we had it all covered up. I went through the checklist, but we must have missed something. how do you want this to be next time you come out so I can make sure we pass? And the minute that you do that, it's going to usually take them down a notch, and they'll tell you what they want you to know, right? And then you'll pass. You'll get a move-in date, and it's time to collect checks. Right now, I wanted to give you guys this because almost every public housing authority is going to have one of these. You know, they're going to have an inspections checklist that you can go through, and it's important that you use it. If you don't use it and you fail, I mean, it was your bad. I told you about it. So now you know what to look for. Any questions about any of this stuff so far? No questions, no questions. Okay. So does anybody I have enough time to run through like a mock property kind of scenario with you guys before we shut down. So does anybody have any questions before I run through that? Any questions at all? None. Okay, no problem. So let me hop over to Redfin.
I have a question, Danny.
Shoot.
When is your next LLC happening?
Linda got the pressure on me, man. Linda, as soon as we sell this flip that we are working on in Indianapolis, you have my word that we are going to go after the next LLC. And for those of you guys who don't know, we started an investment club together, raised $51,000, went out of state, flipped a house, made some money, bought another one, rehabbed it, and now it's on the market. We're waiting for a buyer to pop up. So when we're done with that, we're going to turn around and raise some more money together as a community. We all put in the same amount to the pot, and we're going to invest it together as a community and practice group economics the way Dr. Claude Anderson told us to. So that's what Linda's referring to. So as soon as we get it sold, Linda, you got my word, I'm going to be around with the information.
How did you set that up legally, like from a structure standpoint?
We just had an LLC, and everybody's an equal partner in the LLC. Everybody put in an equal amount. Everybody owns an equal share of the LLC, and everybody has equal voting rights. So if there's a red house at 123 Main Street and a blue house at 124 Main Street, and we're, people want to do one, people want to do the other, we take a vote, and majority wins, and that's the house that we do.
Gotcha.
Hey, can you repeat that? I mean, my thing went out. I didn't catch the last part of you saying the investment group or whatever.
Yeah, so part of what we wanted to do was continue the legacy that NIP had by working together and practicing group economics. Group economics is a very, 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 very important thing to me. Dr. Claude Anderson is somebody who I hold in very high regard, and he gave us the blueprint on what to do over 20 years ago. Just a lot of us are hard-headed, we don't listen. So I just decided to try to do what we could to follow his instructions. So we came together and we all raised collectively $51,000 as a group. We took it out of state, we bought a property, rehabbed it, sold it, made some money, and we're doing the same with another property right now. And we're gonna start a new LLC after this one, after we sell this second property. The LLC we have is already done, it's formed. We can't let anybody else in that one, but we're gonna start a new one for another round of group economics together as a family and a community. And we're probably gonna target Los Angeles, so we're gonna have to raise more money, but it'll give us an opportunity to start to be players here in our own backyard. So I'm excited about that.
And when is this supposed to take place for the group in Los Angeles?
As soon as we sell this second flip.
Okay.
As soon as we get rid of it, then we'll turn around and do something here. And and look, man, this is, when Will Roundtree was here a couple months ago breaking down credit and everything, and I was telling him about what we ran into on the second property. We found a property, rehabbed it. It looks beautiful. Actually, do I have the pictures? I'll show you guys. So this house that we did, we bought it and it was like it was like a shell. They had built it, but there was nothing going on inside. They kind of like drywalled it and stuff, but there was just nothing in it. It was just a shell, blank walls, everything. And let me see, bring this over here. And we rehabbed it, put it on the market, and come to find out, right before we went on the market, the city let us know when we tried to get the utilities turned on that we had to put a brand new, sewer and water line in the property. We had no idea. So They kind of screwed us a little bit on that one. So, and these are the old exterior photos. Don't pay attention. We got better ones now. But here's the inside of the property. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. So we staged it up pretty nice and
nice.
Yeah, waiting on it, waiting on a buyer now. And
the outside was a lot more deceiving.
Yeah, the outside was crazy, man, when we first got done. So that's the new outside right there. So
there we go. Okay,
yeah,
there we
we
go.
got a little bit more curb appeal now, man. So yeah, it was a little tricky outside, but
Can you show the outside again? And how much did you originally pay for it?
we bought this one for $50, and it's
And
on the market right now for $129.9.
Oh, and that's where?
Indianapolis, Indiana.
Nice.
And we had to put about 50 into it to get it to
Right.
what it is now. So this is the second one that we did. So yeah, we're waiting on a buyer for that one. When we have one, we'll move on to our next venture together, and then we're going to keep that Indiana stuff going as well. So
what's generally the turnaround like on rehab? I'm totally new to this, by the way, when it comes to buying and rehabbing. Like, how long did it take to get it to from when you originally bought it to get it up to with the sewer line and everything you had to do or whatever? Like, what's that process like? Is that a few months, 6 months?
Man, we were moving, man, prior to that sewer line thing. So I think, and I got to go back and look, man, but I feel like we got it done in about 5 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we were on fire. And then the city came through at the very end because we didn't need utilities on it until like the very end. So we finally went to go turn them on. They were like, oh, nope, this property is going to need a brand new sewer and water line. Oh. So it took 30 days plus just to get on the city schedule, to have them come out, cut the concrete, the whole thing, man. So they really kind of threw us a curveball, but that's the nature of the game. That's what happens, and we learn from this one, and we'll turn around and get this one off, and then find a property next time and make sure, like, what we learned through this was that you can do like a utilities feasibility test now. So you can actually call the utility company prior to closing and ask them like, hey, are you going to require me to have to put in a new line? And they'll let you know, so that way you don't get caught off guard. So you live and you learn.
Also, if I may, I was put onto insurance you can get for your sewer lines. So we just grab that on every property before we even go to settlement. We grab that just to be on the safe side.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, man, I never heard of that. Thank you for that, bro. I had no idea. Definitely gonna look into that.
Danny,
I'll put it in the chat.
Okay, thank you.
Danny, are you practicing group economics only with buying flips, or are you doing buy and hold as well?
So it's funny because here, when we do the one here in LA, I'm gonna have to take a survey and see what everybody wants to do, because it's not just my vision, it's all of us collectively. So if everybody says, hey man, look, we want to raise enough to buy an apartment complex and use that and eventually leverage it to buy another one, I'm all for it. We don't have to buy anything and flip it. I just want us all to show to see that we can work together as a family in a community, no backbiting, no tricky stuff, and make some mailbox money and start to level up together. So I'm for whatever everybody wants to do.
Okay, could you please check your DM, because I'm definitely interested. As long with anybody else in the group, because I'm a team player that's interested in being a part of that group economics, so we could get a action plan.
Okay, yeah, you can find me everywhere on social media.
Yeah, I DM'd you, and I used to work with Will, man. I know Will.
Okay, all right,
yeah, cool. All right, cool.
Cool, man. So what I wanted to do real quick was just show you guys, like, here in Indianapolis, like just like a mock scenario on a deal before we wrap up. So I'm gonna zoom in. So usually, like, I like Redfin because the filters are really clean and easy to use. I just go to Redfin, type in Indianapolis, and hit multifamily. So that's gonna get everything off my screen that's not multifamily related, right? And now I can dive in and look at what I want to look at. So there's a multifamily. Now, one thing that was funny was I saw this property with this heart on it, and I was like, why would I have favorited a property for $275,000? Well, it turns out this property is a 4-unit building, and I was looking at it, thinking about buying it, and the seller trying to find the history on this thing to show you guys. The seller ended up selling this property, man, and the person flipped it. He was selling it for, I think, like 135 or something. I can't find the history all of a sudden, man. I wanted to show you guys this. Property detail. Okay, here we go. The seller was selling it for 135, and I was like, I don't know if the cash flow is gonna be right after I got to rehab it because it needed some work. Well, you see what's going on, right? 135, they put something in, now they're trying to get 275 for it. And I bet they probably gonna get somewhere close to it. They've been on the market 3 days, so I don't expect for it to last very long. But anyways, back to our regularly scheduled program. So here we are in Indianapolis, and I cherry picked a deal that I wanted to take a look at. So let's sort this by price. We're gonna go from lowest to highest, and I'm gonna take a look at 329 Bevel Ave. So I'm just gonna use some mock numbers. So let's say that this property on Bevel, it's in bad shape and needs some work. They want 60,000 for it. Let's say it'll take 40,000 to get it right. It's a duplex. I know it has at least 2 bedrooms per side because it's a 2-story duplex. It might have 3, but 2 beds are usually better. And now we'll start to run some numbers to see if this deal is feasible for us, right? So one of my favorite tools to figure out how much I can get in rent is a site called Rentometer. So I'll go to 329 Bevel. And I'll put it in. I'll just put in the bedrooms. I won't put the rent in. And I'll just hit analyze address. And as you can see, the median rent is $700 a month. So for the area. So that's not really very bad, you know, and I know I'm confident I can get that because my property is going to be rehab. Some of the ones probably getting 7 are not rehab. Now, like I was telling you guys earlier, a lot of times you don't want to make decisions just based off of one data point. You want at least 2, but preferably 3. So what you could then do is head over to Zillow.
Oh, that's what I do.
Hey, great minds think alike, right?
Oh my gosh, I'm almost there.
So you go to 46201, which is the zip code for this property. And you see I already have for rent up. And then now I'm going to look for 2-bedroom matches around my property. Now you might say, in this square, Danny, how do you know where your property is? Well, I'm just going to match it up, right? So there should be a little house. There it is. The house is right there. See that house icon? And what I do to find my property is I just look for like a major intersection and use that kind of like as my compass. So Rural Street and East Washington, I'm like up to the left, right? So I'm just going to do the same thing here. Just going to drop in. Why is it doing that? Okay, there we go. I'm going to drop in, find Rural Street, which is right there. I'm going to find East Washington, and I'm up to the left. So I don't even have anything like this like right here that I can look at, but I can look around and see what the 2 beds are going for. So they want 1,000 for this 2-bed right here. I can take a look at it and see, like, man, 2-bed, 1 bath. They rehabbed it. Property looks good. Mine's probably going to look almost just like this because I put the same things in mine. So I put white countertops in, butcher block cabinets. I'm sorry, butcher block countertops and laminate. So they're trying to get 1,000. That's crazy. But I'm not going to go there because, you know, I'm going with what the data's saying. But as you can see, like, I'm not really tripping. I'm not really out of my range. Over here is 875. Over here is 675. See what? And this is a property that hasn't been rehabbed. You know, it's clean. It can be moved into today, but, you know, pictures are dark. You know, it is what it is. So I'm confident I can get that extra $25 by rehabbing mine and taking better pictures. So I'm feeling good about this number. So what I like to do then is break out my my calculator, figure out how things are going to look. So let me pull that up real quick. Drag it over. And this is just like a rental cash flow calculator that I created in Google Sheets. So nothing too fancy. Should be this one. And let me drag this over. Can everybody see the numbers okay, or do I need to zoom in?
Zoom in a little bit.
Okay.
Yes, zoom in.
Okay, I got you.
There's a website called Bigger Pockets. I don't know if you guys ever heard of them. They got a YouTube channel and stuff. They have a calculator too that I was using to analyze deals. Real user friendly as well.
Hey, Danny.
Yes, sir.
Do you ever, I'm in Philly, so it might be a little bit different. Do you ever go off of the rents that they give you, PHA gives you per zip code?
Well, no, because I never asked the PHA. Well, that's actually a lie. I'll look at so they have something called a VPS, which is a voucher payment standard. That's basically what tells you what they'll pay you, per bed, number of bedrooms or whatever. So I always look at theirs to see what the max is that they'll pay, but I know that they're willing to pay market rent. And that's the beautiful thing about Section 8 that I didn't talk about, was that a lot of times people are like, man, you got to take less. No, in fact, I've actually seen them pay more sometimes. I got a 3-bedroom house out there that I'm getting $975 for. And I swear to you, I thought I wasn't going to get anything more than $750 for it. And the tenants pay all the utilities. So I look at it to know what kind of range there is, but I usually look at the market rent more than anything.
Oh, and you probably already noticed, but if you go with someone that's from the VA, the Section 8 is willing to pay 20% if you're housing someone from the VA.
Oh, that's crazy. See, I don't know anything about VA rentals, man. My property manager is really good at them, but I haven't had a VA tenant yet. But I'm looking forward to having one though, and learning about it.
Yeah, a VA that's on Section 8 is like fantastic. Only trip up is because they got a case manager on the VA side and a case manager on the PHA side to expedite it. Only down, and they get 20% bump up on what they are allowed to pay in rent. Only downside is it's a 1-year lease versus a typical 2-year on a typical 2-year contract. It's just a 1 year.
I mean, we only doing 1 years now with Section 8, so it'll be right. That's what I'm doing already.
We done took it too far. Technology.
For over here, it's 2 years on the PHA. All the leases are guaranteed 2 years. Unless it's a VA, then they only do it 1 year.
That's crazy, man. See, that's why I love having these meetings, man, because you learn so much. Like, I didn't even know about the insurance or that, man. So, yeah, appreciate that. Sure. Go ahead.
Can you repeat the 20%?
20%. What was 20%?
Oh, no, I was saying, I'm in Philly, so I was able to stumble upon just learning that if you have a VA client who's also with PHA, then PHA would be willing to go 20% more for that veteran's rent, just off the strength of them being a vet. So if the max was $1,000, you'd be able to get 20% above $1,000 if you're renting to a vet.
That's fine.
Yeah, so see, like he's giving you guys a brand new. I guess I gotta mute everybody real quick. Hold on. He's giving you guys a brand new angle with VA rentals, because I know some people that's all they do is VA rentals the way I do Section 8, right? So this is another opportunity for you to be able to get subsidized housing into your business. And believe me, if you want to scale and you want to move fast, in terms of like not even necessarily moving fast, but just systematizing your business, being able to count on that cash flow coming in because you have subsidized housing can help you tremendously. So right here, this is the calculator that I use. Now, for some of you guys, some of this might not make sense yet because it might be brand new to you. So hard money is at 10% interest is the first calculator, and it's connected to this. So all the numbers just populate automatically in these two boxes. So what is hard money? Hard money is money that we borrow as investors to buy properties and to rehab them and sell them or refinance them. Hard money is very short-term financing, and it's very, expensive. As you can see, 10% interest. You haven't seen interest rates like that at all in the last 10 years, but we've been paying them consistently for hard money. They also charge us loan points. Points are a percentage of the loan amount. So let's say that you have a $100,000 loan and they're charging you 1 point. Each point represents 1%. So that means 1% of your loan amount, and 1% of 100,000 is $1,000. So you would pay $1,000 as points. And if that's confusing to you, don't forget to grab that investor starter guide I gave you in the very beginning on our website. We have it all broken down for you, easy to understand. The purchase closing costs, these costs are what you pay. It's like title fees and document fees and yada, yada, right? So we put that in. So let's look at our situation. We have a purchase price of 60,000, rehab of 40,000. We have closing costs, and this is how much we, total for these three, 101. And then we have loan points of 2727, and we're going to be all in at $103,727. Now, the hard money lender will lend us 90% of the purchase price, and he'll fund 100% of the rehab. So, what's 100 minus 90? That's 10%. So you have to come up with 10% as a down payment. This is your down payment right here. $10,100 as a down payment. Your loan amount is going to be $90,900. And your monthly mortgage payment on the hard money is going to be $757. So remember, we looked at our rent. We know we can get $1,400 out of this building, right? Because each side will give us $7, and minus our mortgage amount, minus management, which is 10%, and then minus vacancy and maintenance for 10%, leaves you with $362 in net cash flow. Now, if you want to put in some money for CapEx stands for capital expenditure. So that's money that you're putting to the side for big ticket items that could go out, like a roof or a furnace, something like that. But because you just rehabbed your property, all those systems are going to be up to date. So you don't have to put as much away as you would with an older house. But let's just say $50 for CapEx, right? And now you're walking away with $312 while you're still in this bad loan. You're still walking away with $312 a month. Now, this is your BRRRR calculator. BRRRR stands for buy, renovate, rent, refinance, repeat. Gucci bang. So here we go. Numbers are still the same, right? You bought it for 60, you put 40 in it. So you're still going to be in for the same amount, 103,727. Now, here's the difference. When you're dealing with a situation where you want to BRRRR property, you got to look at it from the finish line backwards. The reason why is because the whole purpose of this BRRRR strategy is to get you the majority of the money that you put in. This 10,000 is the purpose is to try to get as much of it back to you as possible through the refinance, so you can turn around and do this last R, which is repeat, and go duplicate this scenario. So what we have to do is figure out like what our property is going to be worth after we finish fixing it up, because we have to get a loan on it. And the lender is going to typically give us 70% of what we feel like it's going to be worth. Now you might be asking, well, dang, how do I know how much the property is going to be worth? I'm not a realtor. I don't have access to the MLS. Well, you're right. But what you do have is access to Redfin. And this is why I like Redfin. So I can turn on a simple filter right here that says for sale. I can turn that off. It's going to turn on sold. Now I can see all the properties that have been sold. And I'm going to go back 6 months so I can get some good data. And now I need to find my property on the map just like we did before, so I can see what stuff is selling for around me. So intersection of New York and Rural Street, we're going to find that real quick, and then we're going to look at some sales. So here's Rural, and here's New York Street right here, and we're up just to the left, right? And check this out. We got a comp right by us for $165,000. So that makes me feel really good. You know, if I'm right there, you know, rural in New York, I'm right in that pocket, and this property's here too. I know I should be able to get 165. If he got 165, I'll take a quick look at his and see. But yeah, this is a standard rental grade rehab. Nothing fly going on in here. And I'm probably gonna do a little bit better than him. So I expect to get at least 165. Not to mention, in my same zip code, you know, this property sitting at 230, 132. I got some good buffers around me. So let's hop over here to the calculator. Now here's where you're gonna put these values in by hand. So what do you say your ARV is? We'll just say 160,000 being conservative, right? They're going to give you 70% of that as a loan amount. That's $112,000 as a loan amount. This line right here represents the difference between the hard money loan and the refi loan. We want this number to be negative. Why? Because this is actually how much you can get back when you refinance the property. You actually could get a check for $21,000, which is like the $10,000 you put in plus more. And the cash that you need to close on the refi is negative 17, obviously, because you're not going to have to bring any money to the table because, you know, you're refinancing it for more than, you know, what you owe over here. So before I move forward, anybody confused with these numbers so far? I'm sure I got some questions.
So instead of putting 10 down like we would on the hard money formula, we're going to end up putting roughly, I don't know, 38,000 in on the Burr package, right?
No, you're actually not going to put anything down because you owe your current lender $90,900, right?
Yeah.
Your new loan at 70% of 160, 112,000, your new loan, as you can see, is $21,100 more than what you owe your lender.
I got you. So this is basically your takeout loan, right? After I've done the rehab, this is when I refi, that's what I'm looking at here in the ARV.
Exactly. This is your takeout loan. So let's say that when you refi, you're telling, oh, let me mute everybody and then you can unmute if you got a question. Let's say that when you refi, you're like, look, I don't want to take anything extra out the house. I just want to pay off the current loan and that's it. So let's figure out what my cash flow is. So I say, okay, no problem. We'll go to Zillow and we'll use their mortgage calculator. And I'm recording this Zoom, by the way, too. So if some of this is moving too fast for you, you'll have a chance on the replay when we send it out to study again. So let's say you just want to refinance what you owe, which is $90,900. Okay, your down payment amount is going to be zero because you're not bringing money to the table. You just refinance it. And I know that investment property loans, for me, I've seen them at 4.1%. You're not going to pay PMI because you already have enough equity in the property. You only pay PMI if your equity is less than 80/20. So this is going to be your mortgage payment. It's $523. So we're going to put this into the calculator here. 523.
How are you getting the 4.1%?
I know it based off of a refi that I'm doing right now. So I'm just using a rate that I've seen personally.
What do you mind me asking what your credit and who your lender is?
Yeah, so North Point is my lender and my credit when they ran it was like 725. So I didn't get the top tier. I got the tier right beneath the top tier. So rent was $1,400. Mortgage is $523. And now you're walking away with $547 every month after expenses. And this is, the power of using these strategies the right way and buying at the right price. How many of these 547s do you need before you can look at your boss and tell them that, maybe I don't want to come into work anymore? right? So any questions?
How soon do you refi?
So that's a good question. Sometimes they're going to ask you to hold the property for 6 months. A lot of times they will actually. They want you to hold it for 6 months. That sucks kind of to a degree, but the cool part is you bought it at the right price. So you're still going to be making 312 for those 6 months while you're holding it, waiting for it to what they call seasoning. Call it seasoning. So while you're waiting for it to season, you're going to still be making 312. You won't be putting a dent in the principal because hard money loans are interest only. But when it's time to refi, you'll up your cash flow and be at 547. So not bad.
This is amazing. You're just like a godsend. I've been looking and I see all these homes that need to be rehabbed in Compton and City Terrace, just around town in LA. And I'm like, wow, I can't get a $300,000, where am I going to get that? No one wants to give you a loan on a rehab, so thank you for this information.
Yeah, no problem. Hard money lenders are out there. They love doing these kind of loans. They make a bunch of money off of them, off the points and the interest. So they'll definitely give you the loan, as long as the numbers pin out. That's the thing for them, or pencil out, should I say? So if they're going to be looking over your shoulder to make sure the numbers pencil out, especially if it's your first deal. But if you have a deal on the table and you get jammed up running your numbers, then by all means, feel free to reach out and you'll be good. And I can also make this calculator available to everybody if they want to have it on deck.
Yeah, I was
Yes,
going
I
to
do.
suggest that, please.
Okay, no problem. So when I send out the replay of the Zoom tomorrow or the day after, I'll make sure that the calculator is available as well. Kai wants me to explain the cash to close refi. When he asked at 8:45, that was 5 minutes ago. Okay, so Kai, I know this can be a little bit confusing, so let me walk through this box. Everything else, I'm sure you understand, right? Purchase price, repairs, purchase closing costs.
Yes.
Okay, so let's go through this box. I know these negative numbers can look confusing. So your ARV is a number you're going to put in this calculator by hand. You're only going to know it by running comps, and comps are comparable properties. That means apples to apples, right? So if you have a 2-story duplex like we went and found a 2-story duplex that that sold for 165. We took a look at it, seeing how it's looking. We feel like we probably will look a little better than that. So this is a good comp for us. So 165, 160 is a good range. So that's where we got that number from. Preferably you want 3 comps, but you can't always have it the way you want. You just have to decide whether or not you feel comfortable moving forward with the 1 or the 2 if you don't have 3. So we put the 160 in being even more conservative, right? Because we're probably going to get more than 165 out of our value, but we're just going to say 160 to be conservative. This number is going to populate by itself. 70% of your ARV. Now, why do we have this in here? Because your lender is only willing to lend you 70% of the value of the house after you fix it up. Now, this is your long-term lender, not your short-term hard money guy. This is the guy who you're going to be with for the next 30 years or until you decide to sell the property. He's only going to give you, in most cases, 70% of your ARV. 70% of 160 equals 112,000. Now, this number right here is the difference between, let me put this in and hopefully make it more. The difference between your current hard money loan and your new refi loan. We want this number to be negative. If it's not negative, that means we're going to have to bring money to the table to close. So our current hard money loan is $90,900. Our new loan is $112,000. The difference between that is $21,100. Now, what you do with this $21,100 is completely up to you. You can take it or you can not. some people don't want to take it because they want to make more cash flow every month. And obviously, if you take this 21,000, you know, your loan amount's going to be 112. You're going to make a little bit less. But if you leave it in the deal, then really your new loan amount's going to be for the same amount as this one. Because your new lender, when you refi, all he's going to do, and we call this a RNT, which is a rate and term refinance. This, when you take money out, it's called a cash out refinance. So if you do a RNT refinance, all that means is that you're calling a new lender and saying, hey, I'm paying this guy down the street 10%. He's killing me. I need to get into a long-term loan. And your new lender is going to be like, all right, how much you owe? I owe him $90,900. Okay, no problem. I love it. Let's do the deal. He's going to come pay the old guy off. Old guy's going to go on vacation, be happy, and you're going to be with the new guy owing him $90,900. So if you decide to leave the money in the deal, that's what you'll owe on your new loan to be $90,900. Does that make sense?
Yes.
How long are you getting these loans for? Are they 15, 20, 30?
Typically mine are 30s. So I like to have the flexibility of a 30, but if I decide to go ham and pay them down early because I'm starting to make money, then cool. But I don't want the pressure of a 15 until I'm in a position to handle it.
And what was the name of the bank you mentioned earlier?
North Point Bank, and I would not recommend them to anybody on planet Earth.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. Never mind.
Yeah, hey, you might have a better experience than me, but man, it's been the worst refi I ever had to do with these dudes, man. Like, I whole nother conversation. And this number right here, cash to close to refi. Basically what I did was I took, let me see, I had the refi closing costs in there. I had the points for the new refi loan in there. Yeah, and I added them with this other number, which was the 21,000. So basically what ended up happening was like I deducted these costs from the 21,000. And that would be how much you would need. So basically, like, let's say that you had the 21K, like we said, and you would say, look, out the 21, I don't want to bring this money to the table. I'm good. Just take it out of my equity. That's what they would do. They take it out your equity. So that would then leave you with 17,373 that you could either pull out in cash or that you could leave in the deal. It's up to you. Any other questions? Somebody drew on the screen. What are y'all doing?
Yes, Danny, you mentioned a season period to refinance. You said it's usually 6 months.
Yeah, they want you to hold it for 6 months, man, until they refinance. Most case scenarios, you can find some lenders that'll do it like in 3, but if you go on with like a traditional bank, like a Wells Fargo or Chase, they're gonna definitely make you hold it for 6 months.
Hey, Denny.
Yeah.
Hey, what? I know you said you wouldn't recommend North Point. What's a bank that you would recommend?
Man, that's a good question because all of my refinances that I did at the beginning of the year were with them, and we have one more left. And this is like they're killing me on this one. So if I had to start over again from right now, I would definitely go talk to my guy Carlton at Legacy Home Loan. Which one of y'all keep drawing on the screen, man? Like little kids. Carlton Lane Fiesta at Legacy Home Loans. He presented here at Buy Back the Block a few months ago, and he gave us a lot of game, and I would definitely start there, and keep working. Or I would talk to Larry Hughes, who was in here, and Larry is actually presenting next month on mortgages and everything you need to know to qualify in this market to be able to buy a house. Larry is a mortgage broker. So Larry's actually like the best kind of person to talk to because he has access to programs that you're not going to find going to Chase or Wells Fargo, where they got strict rules where you got to have this credit score and this, amount of debt, whatever. Guys like Larry can go in there and mess with those numbers and get you qualified with a different kind of lender. But Larry, I ain't gonna speak for you if you want to speak up on that.
Yeah, I'll speak on it. With being a mortgage broker, I'm different from a regular banker. We have over 50 different lenders in our pipeline that we can use. So we pride ourselves in being able to fit to ultra A paper all the way down to the 580 FICO score. So, you know, anything in between.
580, Larry?
Yeah, 580 on FHA FICO, FHA program. 10% down, however, but 580, you get you the lowest 580.
What about a cash out?
Cash out is a different animal. It's when you do cash out refinances, you start to go on the tiered FICO score. So the lower your FICO score, the higher it costs. Like I'm doing a cash out refinance of a property right off of Vermont and 73rd. It's going to cost the guy almost 2.5 points because his FICO score is too low. Even though it's an FHA program, his FICO score is like 643, something like that. 639, 643, and it's going to cost him 2.5 points. He's cashing out 60 grand, but because his FICO is because it's a cash out, they do a tiered FICO score program. If you're doing a regular rate and term like Danny mentioned, then it's not like that. So they definitely, when you're doing cash out, it's a different animal.
Larry, drop your info in the chat for me, please. They asking for it.
Yeah.
Also, I wanted to know, Danny and Larry, if you have the cash, but you have the problems with the credit as well as the income. Are you able to work around that?
No, sir. Income, what you, and I'll talk about this a lot more, and that's going to be pretty much the focus. One of the focuses of my talk next month is, but
okay,
the biggest problem I have, what we have as a loan officer, is that getting across the point that your income matters, right? So banks don't want your property. They lend you money. They want their money to perform, right? They don't want the property. So what they want to see is that you have the ability to repay the debt. So income is one of the biggest, or the biggest thing when it comes time to you getting a mortgage paired with the credit score.
Okay, thank you.
Yo, I see Darnell asked, how do you go about finding reliable out-of-state contractors and handymen? So you want to do it the same way we talked about when it comes to your property management or your realtor. The best people to talk to are the people who are already working in the field, right? So if you wanted to, you know, like say you were trying to train to become a better basketball player, you're probably going to talk to some hoopers and figure out who they training with and who's leveling them up and go there, right? So it's the same process with finding somebody in the real estate space. Call the RIA in the area that you're going to be investing in. Tell them who you are. You know, the thing that I love about this business, man, is that if you just be straight up about who you are and what your situation is, a lot of times people will take pity on you and just help you, you know? So you can tell people like, hey, man, I'm from out of state. I don't know anybody in the area and I'm just looking to make some connections. I need to find a good realtor, a good property manager, a good handyman. Can you help me? And the people with the Real Estate Investors Association, that's what they do. They spend all their time swapping info and they know who's doing what and who's not. And that's how you can start to put your team together. Also, other investors. Other investors are some of the best if they're willing to share the info with you. A lot of them don't want to share their contractors, and I understand why. But some of them are cool enough and they will, you know? So you never know. But definitely you want to start at the RIAs. And then you want to also talk to your property manager because your property manager has to have a good handyman on deck and probably a couple of good contractors if they're a good property manager. Why? Because they're always dealing with stopped up toilets, you know, backed up sinks, yada, yada. So yeah, start with the RIAs and talk to your property manager. And then when you get a good realtor or somebody, ask them. And usually good people travel in circles.
I had a question, Danny. Only because I'm interested in investing out of state, just like you are. We talked about this privately. Do you do like I've had this thought, like preventive maintenance, like buying there's a toilet out there that you could buy that really doesn't have those problems. It's like a 10-year warranty without any problems, and lining cabinets so that you know when you get drips or leaks that the tenant doesn't tell you and then doesn't ruin your cabinet, stuff like that. Do you do that type of stuff for your properties?
No, man, I honestly don't. And it's probably because I'm probably ignorant about most of the preventive stuff that you can do up front. Like I heard once on a Bigger Pockets episode, a guy had college rentals, and he was putting in thicker drywall because they was always tearing the walls up. So he was getting like the thickest drywall he could get, and it was helping him save on maintenance and stuff like that. But for the most part, no, I try to use that whole ounce of prevention thing when it comes down to seasonal maintenance. So I just text my property manager literally today, and I said, hey, what do you think about us getting all of these furnaces serviced? Because it's starting to cool down back there. So let's go ahead and get all the filters changed. Let's get them all cleaned out so that way they don't end up blowing on us, throughout the winter. And then we'll do the same thing come spring with the ACs. So, I try to stay on top of what I can. But as far as like the cabinets and stuff like that, no, I don't really trip about the toilets much because, you get a good top flush toilet for $120. And people love those top flush toilets, man. They got the button, no lever, and they don't really have much problems. And they hold less water, so the water bill is lower on them. So that's pretty much what I do.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions? Okay, so if not,
what's your IG?
Oh, I'll put it in the chat. It's Danny Carter 1. So Danny Carter WON.
Thank you.
Oh, no problem. So what I did during the COVID was I decided to take all this stuff that I had in my head on Section 8 and put it into a package. So I wrote a book called Section 8 Rentals Made Easy. And I want to tell you guys about it before you get out of here in case you feel like it could be helpful. So this is the Gumroad page where you can buy it. As you can see here, the book is $19.99. We also have an audio book for $19.99 if you're the kind of person that likes to ride around and learn on the go. Or you can get the full package for a discounted version for $30. So that way you can have the ebook and the audio book. And the reason why it's important to get the ebook, even if you don't want the audio book, is because I put my materials list in the book for you. So I'm going to show you what it looks like right now. So that way you can have it. And this is, look, you might see the materials list and you might say, man, I'm not using none of this stuff. And that's cool too. But I just wanted to get you off and rolling on the right path. Okay, so this is the book here. Gotta figure out how to turn pages. Okay. And I'm gonna jump straight to the bonus content, which is the materials list. So as you can see here, I will have to zoom in, but this is the materials list and it comes with all the SKUs. So if you put these SKUs in at Home Depot, you'll see exactly what I use in terms of vanities, towel bars, tub surrounds, kitchen faucets. And this is how I keep track of what I'm doing in the units. And we put the same thing in every single unit. The reason why is because this is a business. This is not playtime for me. So I need to have it systematized to where I can just tell my contractor, hey, why don't you just go and take care of, this rental over here and let's redo the bathroom and here's the SKUs. And he knows exactly what to buy. So this is the book. I put a copy of the inspection checklist in here, and I've broken down, exactly what you need to do to be able to go from day one to getting the property leased up and getting yourself paid on Section 8. So I'm going to drop this link here to Gumroad in case any of you guys want to grab it. This is a pre-order link, so it's not going to be available until, I'm not dropping the book until December 3rd. So this is going to be a pre-order, and if you buy it, I have a special code for the first 50 people, and the code is Section 8. So that'll get you $10 off. So if you buy the book, you actually get it for $10 instead of 19. Or if you buy the combo pack, you get the combo back for 20 instead of 30. So you can also get it on Amazon. I'm going to put the Amazon link up. Let's see.
Do you talk about hard money lenders in the book?
I don't talk about them in that book, but I talk about them in our real estate investor starter guide, which is absolutely free.
Yay.
Yeah. So if you go get the real estate investor starter guide off the website, man, you're going to be off and rolling with that, because we have word problems in there. So we have word problems there. We have an answer key, so that way you can check your work, where we break down how to get to the final answer. So that's all in the free book that's on our website.
Hey, Danny, where do you put in the code at? I'm on the Gumroad. I want to buy it right now. Where do I put in the code?
You'll put in the code probably during checkout. I think it's the first 50 people get the $10. It might be 25. If anybody tries to get it and the code doesn't work, let me know, and I'll make sure that you get the discount.
What's the code?
Section 8.
Oh, okay.
Try to keep it easy.
Yeah, it didn't allow me to put in the code.
Oh, really?
No, I just bought it. I mean, it's worth it, but I'm just saying, it just didn't allow me to put in the code.
Oh man, that's crazy. Let me see. I'm sorry about that. Let me my first time working with Gumroad, man.
Yeah, I bought the combo pack.
Oh man, I appreciate that, brother. Thank you.
You know I'm always gonna support my brother.
Appreciate it, man. I'm logged into my account. I think that's why this link isn't working for me too. Let me log out and go into it from another browser. Yeah, I don't see the code. You're right, man. I'm gonna go into my account, man, and see what's going on with that, because I want you guys to get the discount if you're gonna buy it early on pre-order. But I did my best to go ahead.
I was gonna say, if we go buy it, can I get 2?
What do you mean?
So like if we pay the whole, if we it's $20 and you pay $10, but you buy it for 20, can you get 2 copies?
Honestly, man, this is my first time messing with Gumroad, so I'm not sure about like how the logistics work completely. So just like this, like I set the pre-order code and then now it's not, showing up. So I have to do some messing around to see if I can get this thing right, because I don't want you guys to miss out.
I'm all good, brother. It's worth the $30.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that, man. But I still want to make sure. Oh wait, yeah. Why isn't it?
This definitely was a great meeting.
Yeah, the meeting alone was worth the 30.
Oh man, appreciate it, man. Oh, here we go. There it is. It says add discount code field to purchase form. Duh. Okay.
Duh.
And it's the first 25 people, yeah. So now if you guys try to grab it, it should work fine. Section 8 is the code. Larry, I can shoot you that back, man, because I don't want you to.
No, man. I don't need it back. So it's all good.
I appreciate that, man. Well, yeah, hopefully this has been helpful to all you guys, man. If you have any other questions, you guys got my socials, man. Just holler at me, and let me know if I can be of service, and yeah, we good to go.
One more thing. Can you tell me where to get the hard what is it? Hard money loan lender. Was that in your package?
Yeah, so hard money lenders are all out here. There's a bunch of them. I've never done a loan in California using hard money, but if you need help finding a hard money lender, I do have a bunch saved in my email. I can just start sending them your direction and you can investigate, see who you like.
Okay, well, I'll contact you off the Zoom.
Okay, that sounds good.
Thank you so much.
All right, y'all, man. Everybody be cool. Be safe. Don't let this election stress you out, man. It's going to be all right either way.
Yeah. So we focus on your own personal economy, no matter who's going to be in office. It's not going to affect your personal economy.
Straight up, man. Straight up. So, yeah. So Yeah, man, we good, man. We out of here. I'll see you guys in December when Larry's gonna be closing the year out with a really good presentation on mortgages, man. And I thank all you guys, especially who came from Sam. Shout out to the Bread podcast. And yeah, we out of here until December, man.